It is always refreshing to know that you will never walk alone, that there will always be people around in all circumstances, that some people always have your back, that you are always in a team game of life. But life is not always like this. You can't walk alone, and people do. In fact, you may find yourself in a job where the unspoken mantra is dog eats dog. Even if everybody goes about cheerful and smiling to your face. And I'm not suggesting that every interaction is geared towards unhealthy competition and people are always trying to pull a fast one on you. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if you came from a culture where the interest of the collective is deemed more important than that of the individual, some of your values may be misfit in the usually individualistic Western culture. This is the difference between individualistic and collectivist cultures. Countries like America, Canada, UK, Australia, Ireland, Netherlands, and Germany have individualistic cultures, whereas Nigeria, India, China, Korea, Japan, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela are all collectivist countries. In many Western countries, it is more respectable to be independent, whereas it is considered shameful to frequently expect unearned favors, handouts, and gifts. It is seen as entitlement, and that is not a description that portrays anyone in a very good light. It is expected that the right of the individual is more paramount than that of the collective. What this also means is that you can expect that your autonomy is paramount and more important than your right to expect others to be benevolent towards you. What it translates to at work is that you cannot expect others to necessarily speak up for you if you have a value system that is based on a different concept of morality, where you expect that people should see your contribution and fight for you if you are being taken for granted or even being taken advantage of. People may take advantage of you, and others who are watching may not necessarily talk or fight for you in your presence or behind you. If you are too timid to let your ambition show, or even have an ambition, you may be in the same spot for longer than necessary. If you will never skillfully say no to a colleague who is dumping their job on you, you may realize that you have been taken advantage of for a very long time. More importantly, opportunities may not always be dropped on your laps because you deserve them. No, you may need to ask. Simply put, your destiny is in your hands as an immigrant professional in the West. This individualistic culture makes people to value and encourage independence above interdependence. In principle and at fundamental level, it's every person for themselves first. If you were brought up in a culture where you have been told all your life that sticking out of the crowd is not a good thing, or makes you look egotistic or full of yourself, or even arrogant, you may need to consciously re-examine your values and be sure your behavior is not holding you back. If you have grown up to believe that you should not look older or more senior people in the eyes, or that you should keep your head down when the manager who is much older than you is talking, you may realize that this pattern of behavior may not portray you in the best light in many Western countries. In fact, your understanding of the word humility may just be what people in the Western country will see as subservience, timidity, lacking confidence, or having low self-esteem or not even fit for leadership. On the other hand, people in a collectivist country may feel ashamed to be rewarded as an individual over a group. The culture prioritizes the interest of the collective above that of the individual. Everyone prefers to be seen not to be preoccupied with advancing personal goal above that of a group or society. This is why people are more likely to promote family and group harmony and more likely to promote personal sacrifices for the collective good. Using the word I is not in fashion. Employees are expected to exhibit citizenship behavior towards the employer above their own self-interest. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If you continue to sacrifice personal interest for the interest of the company without end, that might not be a very smart move in the West especially if you have no meaningful leverage. And it is not that you are strategically building political capital to advance your own interest. What it means is that you can make yourself a sacrificial lamb and throw away years of service whilst trying to blend in and appear nice if you also don't identify the key areas in which you should have your self-interest advanced. Unfortunately, you may not always have someone to tell you this. Employees in America, as it is in many other individualistic countries, will pursue the employer's interest if it conforms to theirs. If it conforms to theirs, you should not be expected to serve the job at your own expense. And where there is no clarity as to what you stand to gain by making naive sacrifices endlessly, the individualistic culture in the English-speaking Western countries tends to promote a high level of self-esteem and confidence, encourages you to have agency, which is a sense of being in control of your life, and to act like it. But it can also be more stressful, more isolating potentially, more competitive, and more challenging to ask for help if the culture doesn't seem to encourage you to. Working in these individualistic countries, you are expected and encouraged to take ownership of your work, and it is reasonable to pursue personal goals. This is not to suggest that you should become a selfish dimwit who will hurt the company or colleagues in the pursuit of self-interest. But you should not be ashamed to own your work, your position, your influence, your goals and ambitions as you deliver on your tasks. As a healthcare support worker, if you are repeatedly being assigned the most amount of clients or patients to work with by a wide margin more than your colleagues, and for no extra pay, if this is not something you want, you may want to communicate your feeling. As a software developer, if you find yourself repeatedly being assigned arduous tasks that you end up spending much of your private time doing, while someone else takes credit for it, if you're not happy with it, you may want to have a discussion about it. As a security professional who has repeatedly had to do overtime, which you are not interested in, not only would it be expected that you should ensure to get paid appropriately, but you should be sure you are not sacrificing things that are more important to you because you think it is an abomination to let your boss know that it is inconvenient for you. Don't get me wrong, being in an individualistic culture does not mean that teamwork is not important. In fact, being able to work well with others is the only way you can ever succeed anywhere. But you should not put your own interest last if the way the job is being done is hurting you. Displaying behaviors of collectivism in an individualistic workplace may send the wrong signal about you to people around you. Your sacrifices may not be appreciated to the same extent that you expect because people may not have expected you to make such sacrifices if you didn't want to. In fact, your sacrifices may not be seen as sacrifices if there is a chance that someone else might willingly prefer those things you have done as a way to advance their own self-interest. You might just end up bitter and resentful if there is something you want to say but never said. So before you get frustrated and think your colleagues and employer are exploiting you and treating you unfairly, think, is it possible that you are the one making unnecessary sacrifices?